I'm Emily Harper, 28, and I've always been the dependable older sister to Sophie. We were thick as thieves growing up, sharing hopes and late-night giggles. When Sophie got engaged, I was over the moon to be her maid of honor. I poured thousands of dollars, endless hours, and all my love into crafting her dream wedding. But family ties can get tangled, especially with my mother, Karen, pulling the strings. I never dreamed Sophie would look me in the eyes and deliver those heart-shattering words. If you're out there wrestling with family drama, drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe. This story might just spark the courage you need. Being Sophie's older sister meant I was her shield and compass. From teaching her to ride a bike to guiding her through college heartbreaks, I was her rock. Our mother, Karen, never hid her favoritism. Sophie was the golden child, with her musical talents and radiant charm, while I was the serious one who needed to loosen up. My father, Michael, stayed on the sidelines, choosing calm over conflict whenever Mom's behavior went too far. As the eldest, I became the family's fixer by default. When the car broke down, I found the mechanic. When bills loomed, I dipped into my savings to cover them. This role carried into our adult years. I helped fund Sophie's music education when our parents' support fell short. I carved my own path as a marketing strategist at a top firm in Seattle. The irony wasn't lost on me managing multi-million-dollar campaigns for clients while still balancing my family's finances. But I didn't mind. Seeing Sophie chase her dreams brought me real joy. When Sophie met Daniel Carter at a jazz festival 4 years ago, I knew they were a match made in heaven. Daniel came from a modest background but had a quiet confidence. He adored Sophie's musical spirit and championed her ambitions. Their engagement after 3 years of dating was no shock, and I was the first call Sophie made, her voice bursting with joy that chilly November morning. "Emily," he proposed, "you're my maid of honor. Right, I need you." Of course, I promised, already mapping out how to make her wedding vision a reality. The early planning was a dream. Sophie and I spent weekends scouting venues, picking out color palettes, and filling notebooks with ideas. My apartment became a hub of wedding binders and fabric samples. Trouble brewed at a family dinner meant to discuss budgets. Mom arrived with a sleek planner I'd never seen. "I've secured the Willow Grove Inn," she declared before we even touched our appetizers. Sophie looked surprised but happy. "Mom, that's amazing." But Emily and I were still looking at places. "Sweetie, the Willow book's up fast. I grabbed their only summer slot," Mom said, shooting me a smug look. "Besides, I always pictured your wedding there." That was the start of Mom taking over. Vendors I'd vetted were swapped for her connections. The soft blues Sophie and I chose were suddenly too dull. "It's okay," Sophie said when I voiced my worries. "Mom's having fun, and she's covering a lot of costs." I swallowed my frustration and stepped back, still helping where I could but feeling like an outsider. The feeling grew when my cousin Lauren started popping up and planning photos online. Lauren always hovered around family events, eager to be in the spotlight. Now she was at tastings and fittings I wasn't invited to. One Instagram post showed her holding up floral arrangements, a role I thought was mine. "Sophie's been hanging out with Lauren a lot," I told my partner, Alex. One night, scrolling through another photo of them at a venue walkthrough, "Maybe Lauren's just around more," Alex offered, always the optimist. "You've been swamped with work." I nodded, brushing off the unease. Sophie and I had 28 years of sisterhood wedding planning couldn't break that, could it? But as spring rolled in, the invitations to planning stopped. Sophie's replies to my check-ins grew short and vague. The detailed chats about decor and playlists turned into texts like, "Mom's got it covered." I kept contributing financially, paying for the videographer Sophie adored, but Mom deemed too pricey. Ordering custom guest favors and planning a surprise honeymoon to Santorini with first-class flights and a cliffside villa. I told myself things would normalize post-wedding. The day I learned I wasn't invited to Sophie's dress fitting hit like a freight train. A coworker, Jenna, mentioned it casually. How was Sophie's appointment at Bridal Bliss? I froze. What appointment? Jenna's face fell. Oh, I thought you were there. Your mom, Sophie, and Lauren were celebrating with champagne. I mumbled an excuse and fled to the restroom, reeling from being left out of a moment we'd dreamed about since we were kids, draping scarves as pretend veils. That night, I called Sophie, keeping my voice steady. How was dress shopping? A pause. It was quick. Mom set it up as a prelim visit with Lauren. She was free. I could have been free, I said softly. You could have asked. Emily, don't overreact. There's plenty of wedding stuff left for you. But those moments never came. The bridal shower was planned without me, though I paid for half the venue. Lauren took over the bachelorette party, picking a flashy Vegas trip Sophie wouldn't love. My suggestions, rooted in knowing Sophie forever, were brushed off. I kept supporting quietly finalizing the $700 to $800 honeymoon, imagining Sophie's joy when I revealed it. But our Sunday brunches stopped, and our talks felt hollow. Is everything okay? I asked after weeks of distance. I'm just swamped with wedding stuff, Sophie said, avoiding my eyes. Mom's been a lifesaver. At a May family gathering, I overheard Mom and Lauren in the dining room. Emily's always been a challenge, Mom said. Sophie's finally seeing it. Always needing to control everything. Flaunting her success. Lauren chimed in. It must be tough for Sophie, especially now. Exactly, Mom said. That's why we've scaled back her role for Sophie's sake. I stood frozen, water spilling from my glass, realizing Mom was painting me as the villain. That night, I broke down to Alex. What if they don't want me at the wedding? He held me tight. That's impossible. You're her sister. But doubt gnawed at me. You need to talk to Sophie directly, Alex urged. I texted her. Need to talk about the wedding and us. Can we meet tomorrow? Her reply came late. Super busy. Come to Mom and Dad's Thursday at 7. Those 5 days dragged. I rehearsed my words, hoping for clarity. Thursday. I arrived at my parents' craftsman-style home, the porch where Sophie and I once drew chalk murals, now feeling alien. Mom answered, her face blank. We're in the living room. Inside. Dad sat stiffly, Sophie fidgeted, and Mom stood behind her like a guard. Lauren sat in my usual chair, smug yet feigning concern. What's going on? I asked, standing when no one offered a seat. We're here to discuss the wedding, Mom said. Your involvement has become an issue. An issue. I looked at Sophie, who wouldn't meet my eyes. Your need to dominate, to make it about you. Mom listed, her tone sharp. You're stressing Sophie out. Sophie, I said, desperate for her voice. She looked up, conflicted. It's been tense. Emily, when you're involved, there's drama, Mom thinks. I echoed. What do you think Mom cut in Sophie wants a joyful wedding, and your presence makes that impossible? The room spun. My presence in planning Mom's smirk gleamed. You're not welcome at the wedding. Not as maid of honor, not as a guest. It's best for everyone. Silence fell, broken only by the ticking clock. Dad shifted but stayed quiet. Lauren stared at the floor. Sophie sat still, complicit. I see, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. When was this decided? Weeks ago, Mom said, relishing her victory. Sophie chose Lauren as maid of honor. I looked at Lauren. Congrats. It's not personal. She lied. Sophie, is this what you want? Mom answered. She wants a drama-free day. You're too controlling. That's not true, I snapped. I've supported everything, paid thousands. There it is. Mom accused, using your money to control us. Dad avoided my pleading gaze. A cold clarity hit me. This was no misunderstanding. It was deliberate exclusion. Good to know, I said, walking out. Sophie called my name once, but no one followed. The drive home blurred with tears. Alex was waiting, his face falling as I recounted the ambush. They can't do this, he said, furious. Apparently, They can, I whispered. What now, he asked. I don't know, I admitted. But I deserve better. Sleep evaded me that night. By dawn, I listed my contributions $2,000 for the videographer, $700 for favors, $1,000 for the string trio, $7,800 for the Santorini honeymoon, over $13,000 for a wedding I was banned from. I canceled the honeymoon, transferring funds back to my account, and emailed the travel agent to halt plans. My phone buzzed with texts, Mom's rants, Dad's rare call. Nothing apologetic. I reported unauthorized charges to my credit card company. Mom had used my card for extra decor without permission. By 7 a.m., I'd cut financial ties to the wedding. I took a personal day and walked through Pike Place Market, the betrayal a physical ache. At lunch with my friend Mia, I spilled everything. They did what she gasped. Your mom said that to your face. Mia revealed Mom had been spreading lies about me telling people at Sophie's engagement party I was jealous, hinting at my unstable state. She's been undermining you for months, Mia said. Why, I whispered. Control, Mia replied. You're successful, independent. It threatens her. The pieces clicked. Mom's subtle digs, forgotten invitations, backhanded praise. Sophie's 3:42, text shook me. I'm so sorry. Emily, Mom lied about you. Daniel and I found out about the honeymoon. Please call. I need my sister. I hesitated, wary after months of deceit. Mom's voicemails ranged from defensive to threatening. Dad's were meek. Your mother's upset. I didn't know. Aunt Sarah, Dad's sister, left a fierce message. Your mom did this to me years ago. Call me. Sarah explained Mom's pattern, isolating threats to her control, like she had with Sarah decades earlier. My therapist friend, Lauren, described narcissistic triangulation and scapegoating. Daniel called, distressed. Mom faked texts, told Sophie you canceled plans. She rerouted your messages to her phone. The manipulation's depth stunned me. Mom showed up at my office, causing a scene, accusing me of theft and instability. My boss, Mr. Thompson, assured me my reputation was intact, but the humiliation stung. Mom's cold satisfaction as security escorted her out cemented my resolve. This was abuse, and it had to stop. 2 days later, I met Sophie at a quiet cafe. Evidence in hand, screenshots, bank statements, emails. Sophie looked drained. I believed Mom's lies, she said, showing fake texts dismissing her wedding. She controlled everything. Daniel explained the honeymoon cancellation exposed Mom's deceit. They'd found her folder of fabricated conversations at a family meeting with Aunt Sarah, Dad, and Grandma Ellen. I laid out the evidence. Mom denied, raged, then wept, claiming she meant well. Sophie stood firm. Emily's my maid of honor. If you can't respect that, your role is limited. Dad finally spoke. Deborah, enough. This stops. Mom left furious, but the truth was out. The week before Sophie's wedding, Mom complied grudgingly with new boundaries. Dad found his voice, admitting his past silence. Sophie and I rebuilt our bond, mourning lost time. I rebooked a simpler Santorini honeymoon, a gift without strings. The wedding day was radiant, helping Sophie into her dress. I felt a pang for lost moments, but said, this pain brought truth. We're stronger now. At the reception, Mom approached, noting the calligraphy. That was you, wasn't it? You always see what people love? Her admission she was in therapy was a small step. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. I'm trying. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Months later, we began family therapy. Mom's progress was uneven, but Dad grew bolder, and Sophie and I built a healthier sisterhood. Alex proposed during a coastal hike, and I set firm boundaries for our wedding. Sophie and Daniel welcomed a daughter, naming her Emily Rose. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, it meant boundaries for love's sake. If you're facing family manipulation, know your worth isn't tied to others' recognition. Setting boundaries can lead to healing. Share your story below. Have you faced similar challenges? How did you find courage? Like, subscribe, and share if this resonated. Your support means everything as we navigate these messy human experiences. Thank you for listening. Your story matters too.